So it is January 29th here, Southeast Michigan, and we're in our January thaw. And so I'm out here looking at range conditions. We're at Bale Grazing. Utilization is excellent. I'm going to show you some up close of what's going on out here. But when we get this exceptionally warm weather, I don't want to damage the root crowns on the forage that's growing here. It's mostly this right here where we're at. It's kind of like a fescue based pasture. So I'm going to put some cross fences up. I pulled the cattle out of here where I'm now feeding them in round bale feeders, and I'm showing some flexibility to get them off of here as soon as I think that the hoofs can, you know, mud up the turf. Then I take them out. Tomorrow, we got about 3 days starting tomorrow, frozen weather. I'm gonna get them back out here. We've got this thaw. Now we're getting almost to the beginning of February. And now we can start getting, you know, if I don't get all this hay fed out here that's up on this pasture by March 1st, March is one of those months we can get a lot of freeze thaw cycles. So I don't want to treat this as an abused pasture. I'll manage it. I'm gonna show you how I put up some temporary fencing using some temporary fence posts along with some poly wire to start managing and control what's going on out here so I can minimize my pasture damage. So when I have that spring green up starting in April, you know, I'm gonna have a little bit more thrifty of a plant and maybe not have to do any reseeding out here, or, you know, because that's going to cost some money. I don't want to do that. So you can see out here by looking at the turf that it's really ate down to about nothing. However, it's not mudded up. They haven't damaged the root crowns. Sure, now we've grazed far down lower and below some of the growth points of some of the grasses that are growing here, but which is not how you would manage a pasture typically if you weren't doing the bale grazing. But our payoff here is the resiliency produced by the thousands of pounds, the several tons of manure that's been recycled here. So I'm treating this part as a nutrient sink, bringing hay from another farm onto this farm. And again, you can see utilization is excellent, but I do not want to get any more damage here. I've got a little bit more of the pasture over there that I did not bale graze. I bale grazed it last year, and I'm going to put a cross fence up there to stop the cattle from encroaching over there, because that has a lot more litter on top of it, a lot more residual forage, and I want to keep that, and that'll bounce back a lot faster in the spring than this will. And there's different types of hay up here, but typically the stuff that I'm bale grazing, which would be the first part of the winter, is a low quality forage. You know, you can see grasses like this, they're gonna thumb through that and eat that. The forage value of a lot of this other stuff isn't much better than straw. However, you know, I'm feeding on the principle of TDN, you know, so there's a large volume of intake versus high nutritional value. I feel that I have the type of cattle that can do well on this forage, and they're carrying their calves still. Calves are 6 months old, 6+ months old here in the winter. Won't get weaned yet for about another month, and they do good on this stuff. You know, this is just a native grass, feral grass type mix here. There's a lot of weeds in here, but this is what they're thumbing through. When my better hay is what they're eating right now in the round bale feeders. I feed about 2/3 of that volume to this hay that's a lower quality hay. So I think the hay is lower quality, I bump up the volume. So in order for you to have this flexibility in the system, to be able to get out here and quickly fence off sensitive areas of the pasture, You want to be able to do this quick. I got a cutoff switch here that's turning off this fence so I can tie into it, because I am good 3/4 of a mile away from the fence charger. I like to use these Gallagher step-in posts. I've tried other posts. They didn't. They either don't hold the poly wire on very good at all, or they break. If you go and buy the cheap farm store plastic posts, which are, half the price, these break off. They just don't last. And I'm also going to use some of these fiberglass sucker rod posts. These are byproduct of the oil drilling industry. A lot of fence suppliers around the country, they end up getting semi-loads of these and they cut them into lengths and sell them. And these, I think I'll be able to drive into the ground today, get through that crust of frost. Okay, so whenever you're going on a hill, drive the post in perpendicular to the ground plane of the hill. Don't put them straight up and down with gravity. That doesn't work too good. So here's a comparison of what the forage residual looks like after fall grazing stopped last November, and compare it out to here. They got it mowed down pretty good. And again, you never would want to graze it this slow ever in a normal grazing situation, unless you're bale grazing like what I'm doing. And in this spot, you can actually see, because we've had some warm weather into the high 40s, this grass is even green. So, I think you get above about 43 degrees, the grass wants to start producing chlorophyll.